I realized much later that a shattered body isn't the true horror. The real nightmare is a fractured soul. Because of a devastating car accident, you were robbed of the ability to ever walk again. Every friend I had urged me to abandon him without a second thought. He'll never stand on his own 2 feet again. Don't throw your life away. Even my parents pleaded with me, demanding I consider my own future. You can look after him for a moment, but can you truly endure a lifetime of this? Because there is no future with a broken man. Yet I defied everyone's warnings, sticking by his side to care for him. My girlfriend was a fighter then, pushing herself through grueling rehab every single day, collapsing only when she was drenched in sweat and utterly spent. Su Wanwan's unyielding will to live showed me the breathtaking brilliance of the human spirit, and I found myself falling deeper and deeper in love. But that brilliance was nothing more than a fleeting spark. The nerves were dead. The odds of her ever standing again were effectively zero. As time relentlessly marched on, Su Wanwan's condition only spiraled further. The doctors delivered the final blow. Her chances of walking again were non-existent. So I walked away from my career to devote every fiber of my being to Su Wanwan, praying for even the slightest miracle of recovery. Perhaps the hope for healing was just too dim, or maybe my devotion was too stifling for her. Su Wanwan began to sink into a swamp of lethargy and despair, her temperament becoming increasingly volatile and explosive. Even over something as trivial as a sandwich not being perfectly sliced, she would ignite into a fierce, uncontrollable rage. Today, the moment I finally lay down to rest, the piercing sound of glass shattering erupted from the next room. Get out, everyone, just get out. You useless piece of trash. I bolted upright and rushed into the bedroom, only to find Su Wanwan trembling with raw fury. The cup holding her medicine smashed into jagged shards. I stood frozen at the threshold, clutching a fresh bowl of carefully brewed medicine. This was a scene I had endured 1,000 times before. I slowly approached Su Wanwan's side, gazing at the girl on the bed who was once so radiant, now disheveled and unrecognizable. Her face was twisted into a near monstrous grimace. As Su Wanwan gripped the bedsheets with a deathly clench, her knuckles turned white while veins bulged from the sheer force. I reached out to lift her legs, which lay there utterly lifeless upon the bed, like two discarded pieces of rotting driftwood. Those were the grim trophies left by the crash 4 years ago. Wanwan, please, just drink your medicine first. Everything is going to be okay. I offered these words of care with a forced, gentle smile. What's the point of this medicine anyway? The doctors already spelled it out. The nerves are dead. There's no sensation left. Su Wanwan snapped her head up to glare at me. Those eyes that once sparkled with the brilliance of starlight were now nothing more than hollow abyssal voids of despair. She stared me down, as if some violent hidden fuse had finally been ignited. Stop playing the saint. Are you secretly mocking me in your heart? Do you love seeing me as a useless waste who wets the bed? I have never once made fun of you. The doctor said there's still a glimmer of hope. As long as we keep up the massages and therapy, there's a chance. Shut up. Liars, why are you all such filthy liars? Su Wanwan suddenly snapped, lunging at me like a wild animal, because her lower body was completely paralyzed. The movements of her upper torso were terrifyingly violent, and utterly out of control as she seized my collar, yanking me violently toward her. She bared her teeth and sank them deep into my forearm. Agony instantly ignited from the nerves in my arm, screaming through my entire body in a flash. I could distinctly feel her teeth tearing through the layers of my skin. 1 second, 5 seconds. 10 seconds passed until Su Wanwan's jaw began to ache from the strain. But I didn't pull away. Su Wanwan, staring at the mangled, bloody bite mark on my arm, 2 rows of jagged teeth marks were oozing fresh crimson. She froze in shock. A flicker of dazed confusion crossed her manic eyes, followed by an even deeper, soul-crushing breakdown. Why didn't you push me away? Is it because you think I'm just a pathetic charity case? Su Wanwan finally released her grip, her entire body collapsing limply onto the pillows. I'm finished. I can't feel my legs anymore. I'll never dance again. My entire life is utterly ruined. Except for a loyal dog like you. Nobody wants me. I retracted my mangled arm, sighing deeply as I witnessed Su Wanwan's agonizing state. Years of chronic, relentless suffering had completely demolished Su Wanwan's psychological defenses, torturing her into a mere shadow of her former self. I locked eyes with Su Wanwan, my gaze devoid of any flicker of resentment and resentment. No, Wanwan. As long as I'm breathing, you'll never be unwanted. So even you think I'm a cripple, destined to just cling to you. It's not clinging. It's needing. Now swear it to me. If my legs can be cured, if I can actually stand on my own 2 feet again, we get married immediately. I also promised that the moment her legs healed, we would head straight for the altar. Do you dare to take the oath? Fine. I swear once you're walking, we'll get married. Su Wan had become obsessively manic about her recovery, to the point of uttering such desperate, unrealistic demands. It felt more like a frantic prayer than a promise. After spending hours soothing Su Wanwan, she finally drifted into a heavy, exhausted slumber. I retreated into the lonely silence of the hallway, leaning my weight against the frigid, unforgiving wall as my body slowly slumped toward the floor. I lifted my left hand, staring at the jagged bite mark that continued to drip crimson. The wound throbbed with a sharp, biting agony, a pain that pierced straight to my core. Suddenly, the phone in my pocket began to vibrate violently. I pulled it out to check the notifications, revealing two unread messages glowing on the screen. One was a cold balance alert from the bank. There was only 3,000 yuan left in the account. That was my entire budget to survive for the month. The other was a short text from my mother. If it's too hard, just come back home. Your father and I can still take care of you. I stared blankly at the glowing display, my thumb hovering over the reply button for an eternity before I finally let the screen go dark. I'm gambling everything I have on this one shot. If I didn't love her with every fiber of my soul, no sane person could have endured these grueling years, living a life barely better than a servant's. Staring down at the raw bite marks on my arm, I clung to the memory of Su Wanwan's promise. It was the only thing keeping my spirit from shattering. But what I failed to realize at that moment was that tonight's vow of marriage upon her recovery would, after 700 agonizing days and nights, become the very bullet that would pierce through my heart. The following morning, my parents traveled from our small hometown to visit me, clutching two massive weathered woven bags in their hands. One was overflowing with fresh fruit from our own fields, while the other held eggs from our backyard chickens. I led my parents into the opulent Su family villa, just as Su Wanwan's mother happened to step out. "Oh my, look who's here. Welcome, welcome. Please come right in." Sigh. At the table, Mrs. Su spoke with a mocking, half-hearted smile. "Xiao Yu, in the 2 years you've spent under our roof, setting aside any actual professional skills, you've certainly mastered the art of high-end Western etiquette. If you ever decide to look for a real job, working as a head waiter at some Western bistro would suit you perfectly." My hands didn't falter for a second as I sliced the meat, refusing to acknowledge the blatant condescension in her voice. "You're joking, auntie. My university degree is actually in architectural design. Xiao Yu, I'm only saying this for your own good. You've spent these last 2 years hovering over Wanwan. Your professional expertise must be completely rotten by now. In today's fast-paced society, being out of the industry for 2 years makes you a useless relic. Besides, once Wanwan's legs finally heal, she will undoubtedly return as the prima ballerina of the troupe. She'll be rubbing shoulders with elite artists and investors. If you spend your days chained to a kitchen stove, and the two of you have nothing left to talk about, how do you expect a marriage like that to survive?" At that point, hearing Mrs. Su's stinging remarks, my mother reached her breaking point. She slammed her chopsticks down. "Mrs. Su, our Xiao Yu might not be some world-class genius, but he has poured his entire heart and soul into Wanwan these past 2 years. The doctors said her legs were a lost cause, yet he's the one waking up at midnight every day for her massages, carrying her to rehab through rain or shine. Mom, drink some water. Did I say anything wrong? Caregiving is just caregiving. And love is a completely separate matter. Our Su family hasn't treated Xiao Yu poorly, have we? For the past 2 years, his room and board were fully covered, and I even transferred 5,000 yuan to him every month. That's exactly what a high-end live-in nurse would cost. This is nothing more than a fair transaction. So don't act as if the Su family owes you some massive debt of gratitude." Batter! Hearing the word nurse, my father's eyes widened in shock, his face clearly flushing with rising indignation. "So our Xiao Yu is just a common nurse in your eyes?" Mrs. Su gave a nonchalant, dismissive shrug. "What else did you actually think he was, our son-in-law?" Just as the tension reached a violent breaking point, Su Wanwan approached in her wheelchair. "Mom, what is all this shouting about?" I could hear the racket from all the way upstairs. Su Wanwan rolled her wheelchair forward, her gaze sweeping coldly across my parents, a flash of blatant annoyance flickering in her eyes. "Wanwan, you're finally down. Come and take a look. These are the things Xiao Yu's akashait." "Wait, what did your parents bring for her again?" She gestured toward the 2 woven bags in the corner. The bags were slightly agape, revealing several potatoes still coated in fresh soil. Su Wanwan wrinkled her nose in disgust, subconsciously waving her hand to fan the air away. Why is there such a stench? Mom, did you forget to turn on the ventilation system?" Hearing this, the smile on my mother's face completely froze. She rubbed her hands together nervously and stammered, "Wanwan, these are organic potatoes from my own garden. No pesticides used at all. They're very healthy." "Thanks, Auntie." Chuyu pushed me back to my room. "I need my afternoon nap. It's too noisy down here. My head is throbbing." Those words, "too noisy," were like 2 jagged needles, stabbing directly into my parents' hearts. They had traveled so far to get here, yet before they could even finish a hot meal, they were dismissed as a nuisance. I stood frozen in silence for a heartbeat, staring intensely at Su Wanwan. On that thunderous night 2 years ago, she had once gripped my hand sobbing, "Please don't leave me." But now, that memory seems as faint and blurred as a relic from another century. I looked down at Su Wanwan in her wheelchair, my voice laced with undeniable friction. "Wanwan." My parents just stepped through the door. At that moment, Su Wanwan stared at me in utter disbelief, clearly shocked that her once obedient shadow would dare to talk back. "I'm aware of that. But I'm truly exhausted, okay? Are you my boyfriend or my... well, whatever you are? Shouldn't my needs always come first?" The word nurse almost escaped Su Wanwan's lips, but she swallowed it back at the very last second. I exhaled a long, heavy breath, forcing a pained, apologetic smile toward my parents. Dad, Mom, I'm going to take Wan upstairs first. Please finish your meal slowly. I'll take you for a stroll by the river in a bit. Without another word, I wheeled Wan away. The exact moment we headed up the stairs, I stole a glance back, catching my mother secretly wiping tears with her sleeve while my father sat with his head hung low, silently chewing on a piece of bread that had already gone stone cold. Inside the room, Wan's complaints continued to drone on. How could your parents show up dressed like that? It would be so humiliating if any of my friends saw them. And those hideous woven bags? They're filthy. Tell the maid to toss them out immediately. Wan, I suddenly interrupted. What now? My voice was as frigid as ice. That woven bag was hand-stitched thread by my mother. And those potatoes inside? My father grew them without a single pesticide, specifically for the sake of your health. I never said I didn't want them. I'm just saying they're unhygienic, right? Why are you acting so aggressive? Honestly, you're such a slow burn. Even your temper is completely irrational. I didn't say another word, because I realized something precious had already shattered. And today, the sight of my parents' humble, shrinking silhouettes became the final weight that broke the camel's back, one of the very last straws. I returned downstairs, and after my parents finished their meal, I escorted them for a somber walk along the riverbanks, but the three of us remained shrouded in a heavy silence. Time blurred until nightfall descended, and after seeing my parents off, I entered Wan's room as I always did, preparing for her routine physical therapy and massage. Inside the room, I began kneading Wan's calves. While she lay sprawled across the bed, mindlessly scrolling through short videos, letting out the occasional shallow giggle, I reached the Zuzanli acupoint, applying a significantly firmer amount of pressure. Do you feel any pain here? Nothing at all. Ha ha ha. Oh my god, this cat is absolutely hilarious. Wan answered with total indifference, her eyes never once straying from the glowing screen. I remained silent, moving my hands down to the Jexi point near her ankle. 2 years ago, the muscle here was completely sunken, withered away until nothing but bone remained. But now, after 2 years of my painstaking care, it had finally regained its natural rounded curve, and her skin was once again firm and supple. Suddenly, my fingertips detected a sensation, an incredibly faint microscopic quiver. It was the unmistakable reaction of a muscle contracting. My hands froze instantly as my heart began to hammer violently against my ribs. Wan! My voice trembled with raw emotion. Did you just move? Wan's thumb stopped mid-scroll. She clicked off her phone and turned her head back with a dazed expression. What? My foot? I cupped her left foot in both of my hands, my gaze burning with a terrifying intensity. Try to move your big toe. Give it everything you've got. Wan stared at my face, which was flushed a deep red from pure adrenaline. Her eyes flickered with a sudden spark, hesitating for a long, breathless moment, before she experimentally knitted her brows in concentration. In the next second, a miracle unfolded. Though it was agonizingly slight, that big toe, which had been dormant for 2 years, actually gave a slow, deliberate twitch. At that moment, a wave of heat surged to my eyes. 4 years of suppressed grievances, the bone-deep exhaustion, years of silent endurance finally found their release in this single heartbeat. I snapped my head up, a radiant smile blooming across my face for the first time in 4 years. You did it. Your nerves are actually regenerating. This wasn't just some medical miracle. To me, it was the final countdown to a promise fulfilled. Once my legs heal, we'll get married immediately. That vow echoed relentlessly through the chambers of my mind. However, Wan's reaction was completely unexpected. There was no burst of euphoria, no piercing scream of joy, not even a single tear of relief. She simply stared blankly at herself, at that one toe that had twitched, and her complexion turned deathly pale in an instant. Then, an incredibly convoluted storm of emotion swirled in her eyes. It was sheer panic, hesitation, and even a flicker of resistance. It moved Wan. The surgery is guaranteed to be a success now. The doctors always said that if the peripheral nerves responded, the success rate jumps to 90%. Wan, do you remember? You promised me back then that as soon as you could walk, we would... Wan knit her brows tightly, her gaze darting away frantically, unable to meet my eyes for even a second. It was probably just a random cramp. How could it possibly recover this fast? Don't make such a big deal out of it. If the surgery fails later, won't I just be even more devastated? But enough with the buts. Wan ran her fingers through her hair in a fit of irritation, snatching her phone back up. I'm exhausted. Let's stop the massage here. I just want to be left alone. I stood up slowly, staring at Wan's cold, detached profile on the bed. The spark of joy that had just ignited in the air was instantly smothered by a chilling gloom. I'm no fool. The look in Wan's eyes in that split second, that wasn't the gaze of someone witnessing hope. That was the look of a debtor suddenly seeing a collector, a look of someone dreading a collector at the door. She was terrified of that promise we made. I turned around and exited her room, leaving her with just a few words. All right then, get some rest. Just as I reached the doorway, My back still turned. I asked her in a soft whisper, Wan, if the surgery is a success, where would you like to go to celebrate? Behind me, a heavy silence lingered for an eternity, until she finally muttered, we'll talk about it later. Anyway, all my friends will be there to celebrate. It's not like it matters if you're there or not. It's not like it matters if you're there or not. Hearing those words, I let out a dark, grim grunt. I chuckled, but that laugh carried the weight of someone who had finally accepted the inevitable end. Closing the door, I left Su Wanwan's room behind. The very moment the door clicked shut, I overheard a sound from within. The sound of Su Wanwan dialing a number. Her voice instantly turned into a sweet, flirtatious coo. Hey babe, I think I'm almost recovered. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed. Su Wanwan's surgery was a resounding success. To celebrate the Su family heiress standing on her own feet again, Mrs. Su booked the most elite private club in Jiangqing, occupying the grandest open-air rooftop. At the gala that evening, a relentless stream of guests arrived to congratulate Su Wanwan. Meanwhile, I was tucked away in a corner booth. Oh look, if it isn't Chu, the legendary nanny, it was Chen Shu, the leader of this elite social circle. Why are you hiding here? Wanwan is over there being treated like a goddess among stars. Aren't you going to offer a toast? After all, without your constant service, she could never have recovered this quickly. Chen Shu deliberately emphasized the word service, his eyes gleaming with a patronizing playful malice. I didn't even look at him. My gaze remained fixed on Su Wanwan in the distance. She was currently engaged in a lively conversation with a young elite investment banker. The man's hand was resting gently on her waist, and she didn't pull away. I finally turned to Chen Shu. I don't drink. Chen Shu let out a derisive snicker. Why act so damn profound? Honestly, Chu Yun, I actually admire you. 4 long years, scraping up filth and enduring abuse. I would have bolted ages ago if I were in your shoes. Is it truly pure love driving you? Or are you just that desperate for the Su family's scraps? I looked into Chen Shu's eyes. My gaze was as chillingly still as a stagnant pond. Chen Shu, if you're looking for a circus act, the stage is right over there. My deadpan stare clearly rattled him, making his skin crawl with unease. Just as he was about to snap back, the spotlight suddenly ignited across the room. Attention, everyone, can I have your focus for a moment? Today, I owe a massive debt of gratitude to my mother, and to my lead surgeon, the brilliant Professor Lee. Come on, Wanwan, besides the doctors. Aren't you conveniently forgetting to thank someone else? What about the man who guarded your bedside day and night? Chen Shu suddenly stood up, shouting with malicious intent. In an instant, every eye in the room turned like a searchlight, scanning the shadows to find me in the corner. Su Wanwan froze. Her gaze pierced through the crowd and landed squarely on me. For a split second, that radiant smile of hers turned to stone. I knew that look all too well. It was pure avoidance and terror. She was terrified of the marriage vow tied to her recovery. Terrified that in this glamorous high society circle, she'd have to admit her fiancé was a man with zero status. A man as humble and invisible as a shadow. Standing on stage, Su Wanwan took a deep, shaky breath. She forced that dazzling facade back onto her face. Of course, I have to show my gratitude. Chu Yu, come up here. I stood up and walked toward the stage step by step. With every stride I took, I could feel the judgmental weight of the crowd pressing in. Those toxic whispers buzzed in my ears like a swarm of flies. He looks like such a pathetic pushover. I ascended the stage and stood beside Su Wanwan. She reached out and hooked her arm through mine. An act that looked intimate to the audience, but I could feel her muscles tense with absolute rigidity. Some of you might not recognize him. This is Chu Yu. The man, he's the person I grew up with. My little brother. Those 2 words, amplified by the cold hum of the microphone, echoed with agonizing clarity across the entire rooftop. From the crowd, Chen Shu let out a piercing, mocking whistle. And here I thought he was your live-in groom. The venue erupted into a wave of cruel, boisterous laughter. My body swayed for a brief, unstable moment. I had truly believed tonight would be the fulfillment of her vow, but it was all just a mirage pouring water into a broken sieve. I leaned in, testing the waters one last time. Is there nothing else you want to say to them? Chu Yu, don't make a scene. Everyone is watching us. Just show some respect. We can talk about whatever this is back home. Back home? Back to which cage? Back to that room where I'm nothing but your subservient nurse. Must you really ruin the mood at a time like this? Su Wanwan, I finally see exactly where I stand. It turns out that in your eyes, I'm just a disposable caretaker you can brush aside. Fine, I'll give you what you want. What are you even doing? Chu Yu, stop being a buzzkill right now. This is the most important day of my life. So stop looking for trouble where there is none. Looking for trouble. It's incredible how your promises weigh less than a feather. Was I the only one who ever took us seriously? From now on, we go our separate ways. Chu Yu, what are you even talking about? Let's just go home and discuss this, okay? Even now, Su Wanwan continued to play her facade of ignorance. Sickened by her hypocrisy, I turned and walked off the stage, leaving that nauseating den of a banquet behind. Su Wanwan watched my retreating back, her face flushing with rage. She never expected her ever-obedient shadow to corner her like this. or to ever dare speak to her with such defiance. Sensing the atmosphere turning south, Chen Shu stepped in to try and smooth things over for the crowd. Whoops! Brother Chu Yu just told me he had a massive emergency. He just wanted to show his face before rushing off. I didn't realize he was in such a hurry. Don't worry about it. Everyone, keep enjoying the party. I walked until I reached the river, feeling an overwhelming bone-deep exhaustion, and a hollow void where a 1,000-pound burden used to be. It's finally over. This 4-year-long pathetic farce has finally come to an end. Right then, my phone buzzed in my hand. It was a message from Su Wanwan's cold-hearted mother. Xiao Yu, the banquet is running late tonight. Get back to the house first. I have something to say to you. I stared at the glowing screen, my lips curling into a sharp mocking smirk. Perfect, I have plenty to say myself. In the dead of night, I returned to the Su family villa. Outside, the rain had begun to lash against the windows again. I sat alone on the living room sofa, having already packed my life away into my luggage. A single battered black 20-inch suitcase, the same one I bought when I started university. After 6 years of constant use, the wheels were jammed and barely functional. Inside were just a few changes of clothes, and my ancient worn-out laptop. Aside from those, I took absolutely nothing from this hollow, opulent mansion. The chime of the fingerprint lock echoed through the hall. Mrs. Su walked in, propping up a completely wasted Su Wanwan. Su Wanwan was draped in a man's designer jacket. Judging by her state, go brew some hangover soup. Mrs. Su handed her over to the maid Wang Ma. Su Wanwan's eyes were glazed and unfocused. Stumbling past the living room, she spotted me sitting there. Why the hell are you still awake? Go get me a glass of water. Old habits die hard. Even in her drunken stupor, she still instinctively ordered me around like a servant. I remained motionless on the sofa, not even glancing her way. Witnessing my total lack of response, Su Wanwan froze in her tracks, processing my blatant defiance for the first time. But with the alcohol clouding her brain, she didn't push it any further. She let Wang Ma lead her upstairs. Now the living room belonged only to Mrs. Su and me. Mrs. Su paced toward me, taking a seat directly across from my own. Her eyes flickered toward my black suitcase, a brief spark of surprise crossing her face, but it quickly shifted back to her usual arrogance. Packed already, Xiao Yu Wanwan was admittedly out of line tonight. But don't take it to heart. You know how young people are about their social status? Still, since things have already reached this point, I won't treat you like a stranger. So take this card. The pin is Wanwan's birthday. Mrs. Su's tone maintained that same patronizing high and mighty grace. I stared at the card. Its black gold surface gleamed with a seductive luster beneath the crystal chandelier. You're aware that Wanwan's status is different now? She's making her grand comeback, and she needs a social circle to match it. You're a good man, truly. But even you must admit that you and Wanwan belong to two completely different worlds. So this is the breakup fee. Don't use such vulgar language. Think of it as an appreciation bonus. For the 4 years you spent serving Wanwan, your hard work hasn't gone unnoticed. The Su family doesn't like being in anyone's debt. There's 500,000 in here, enough for a down payment in Jiangcheng, or you could return home to build a nice little villa. Find a wife and settle down. 500,000 to buy out 4 years of my youth, to buy out countless sleepless nights, to buy out the vow to marry once her legs were healed. If I had faced this scene, in my younger, more idealistic days, I would have viewed this as a soul-crushing insult. I might have stood up and hurled the card in her face, screaming that my love was priceless, before storming out in a fit of righteous fury. But at this moment, I was no longer that naive. I reached out and took the card. A flicker of blatant contempt crossed Mrs. Su's eyes. Trash will always be trash, she likely thought. No matter how noble they act, they'll always bow down to cold hard cash. I spoke softly, my voice completely devoid of any emotion. 500,000, calculating 4 years of full-time nursing fees. That averages out to about 10,000 a month. While it's a far cry from the rate of a top-tier specialist, it doesn't really matter anymore. I pulled my phone from my pocket and opened the app that I'd used to track every expense for the last 2 years. These are the medical bills I covered for Wanwan, along with the cost for her supplements, plus the grocery money I spent for this household. The grand total comes to exactly 64,520. Just consider all of that deducted from the 500,000. Honestly, I don't give a damn about the rest of the change. At that moment, the smirk on Mrs. Su's face completely froze. She never expected me to have calculated everything so meticulously. This cold, clinical settling of the accounts made her more uncomfortable than any angry refusal ever could, because it signaled one undeniable truth. I had truly reduced our entire history to a mere business transaction, a transaction that was now settled in full. You, Mrs. Su's mouth hung open, but the words seemed to die in her throat. I'll send the itemized receipt to your WeChat. I pocketed the card, slipping it into my inner jacket pocket. My movements were deliberate and careful, because this wasn't just a pile of cash to me. This was the seed money for my brand new life. The blade I used to finally sever my ties to the past. I stood up, finished with this pointless small talk. Behind me, Mrs. Su stared at my retreating back. Xiao Yu, once you take this money, there's no turning back. In the future, I'm nothing more than a stranger who got paid for a job. Rest easy, Mrs. Su. A poor man like me has the highest professional ethics. For some inexplicable reason, as she watched this young man's resolute departure, an eerie sense of panic surged within her heart. It felt as if they had truly discarded something of immeasurable value, something that could never ever be recovered. Stepping out of the Su villa, I felt an incredible surging sense of liberation. The massive boulder that had crushed my chest for years had been ground into dust at this very moment. I hailed a taxi, heading to the nearest hotel to finally find some peace. It was already the dead of night, and the rain continued to pour outside. My new life, it begins tomorrow. I arrived at the hotel in the blink of an eye, checked into a room, and after a quick shower, I collapsed into a deep, dreamless sleep. The next morning, the harsh sunlight piercing through the window jolted me awake. The sun was blazing today. I checked my phone. It was already high noon. Time to wash up and start fresh. After getting my life in order, I finally checked out of the hotel. I made my way to the coast, strolling along the sandy shore one step at a time. My mind was racing, mapping out my next move. I've got 500,000 in the bank right now, so surviving day to day isn't the problem. But trying to rely solely on this cash to carry me through the rest of my life, that's a death trap. Money eventually dries up, yet as for what I actually want to do, I honestly don't have a single clue yet. While walking, my thoughts drifted back to my parents in the country. So I grabbed my phone and dialed my mom's number. The line connected. Hello, sir. Mom, you won't believe it, but I hit the lottery today. A cool 500,000 jackpot. I'm transferring 200,000 over to you and Dad right now. Use it to buy yourselves whatever you want. Oh, Xiaoyu, your father and I have everything we need here. Keep that money for yourself. Don't worry about us. Nonsense. The transfer is already hitting your bank account. You and Dad haven't bought new clothes in ages, and I know there are always repairs needed around the house. So please don't argue with me. It's been 4 years since I graduated, and I haven't sent home a single cent until now. This 200,000 is my duty as your son. Just accept it. I have to go now, Ma. My phone is about to die. I hurriedly hung up the phone, opening the mobile banking app to wire that 200,000 into my parents' account. At that very moment, on the other side, that boy, I wasn't even finished talking. My father stood nearby with a pensive look on his face. Xiaoyu. He's finally grown up. Whatever he wants to do, let him forge his own path. My mom, standing right beside him, didn't quite grasp the deeper meaning of my father's words, but she didn't care about the details. She just knew her son had struck it rich in the lottery, and her heart was overflowing with joy. The sky began to dim gradually, the sunset painting the shoreline with breathtaking beauty. I sat on the sand, staring at the diamond ring in my palm, the ring I had planned to present to Su Wanwan at the banquet. I kept it a secret from her, planning the perfect surprise. Gazing at the diamond ring, I rose to my feet. She didn't deserve this. An entire week has passed since that night. During this time, I've been traveling across the country. Since the day I graduated from university, I never truly had the chance to just live for myself. The vast majority of my youth was spent catering to Su Wanwan. On the plane, I lose myself in my music, silently anticipating the destination I'm headed toward. While I arrive over at the Su family villa, Su Wanwan is currently sitting on the sofa, absolutely livid. Because just a few moments ago, she attempted to dial my mobile number. The number disconnected message has her trembling with pure rage. Fine, just great. Chuyu, you took the cash and vanished, didn't you? So 50,000 was enough to buy out 4 years of love. You truly make me sick, Chuyu. Let's see how long you can keep up this tough act. In the week since my sudden departure, Su Wanwan feels like the entire world is conspiring against her. The new nanny's cooking is bland and unpalatable to her. Even the shower water fluctuates between freezing and scalding. This loss of control leaves her incredibly frustrated. Accustomed to having every whim served on a silver platter, she could never have realized that every perfect detail of her life was only possible because someone was sacrificing in silence. 3 months later, I've roamed through countless landscapes to clear my head. My heart has finally found its long-lost peace. Today I'm settled in a quiet, cozy cafe, fully immersed in my current professional project. After these 3 transformative months, I look refreshed, sharp, and revitalized. I exude a calm intellectual aura now. That submissive, lowly vibe I once carried has vanished. In its place is a presence that is warm yet elegantly distant. Right now I'm on my tablet refining a complex architectural design draft. This is a major contract I recently secured. The interior design for a high-end independent bookstore. While I'm buried in my work, the cafe's entrance bell chimes softly. I'll take an oat milk latte, half sugar, no foam. I want it dirty. Make it an iced bock. A hauntingly familiar voice cuts through the ambient noise, piercing through the air and stabbing right into my eardrums. The hand gripping my stylus faltered for a fraction of a second, but I refused to lift my head. Throughout these past 3 months, I've mentally rehearsed this inevitable encounter 1,000 times. Scenes of rage, panic, or avoidance, but now that it's actually happening, I find myself far more composed than I ever imagined. It's like hearing a random car horn blaring on the street. It's grating, but ultimately insignificant to my life. However, Murphy's Law never fails to strike. While waiting for their brew, the man caught sight of me. Chenshu has eyes like a hawk. In a single glance, he locked on the striking silhouette seated by the window. Even though I look like a completely different person now, that specific outline on my back is something Chenshu would recognize even if I were turned to ash. Yo, isn't that Chu Yu? Su Wanwan froze her lipstick mid-application. She followed Chenshu's gaze to the man, bathed in the warm morning glow, his profile sharp and refined, eyelashes cast downward. As he stared with absolute focus at his screen, he looked good, vibrant even. In fact, he looked 100 times better than he ever did during those 2 years by her side. The cowering, submissive posture was gone. The hypervigilance of a servant was nowhere to be found. I looked like a true urban elite, exuding a magnetic charm that felt entirely foreign to her. A violent surge of jealousy and resentment instantly boiled over in Su Wanwan's mind. By what right? How dare he thrive so much after leaving my side? Meanwhile, she'd burned through 5 nurses in 3 months. Plagued by insomnia and crippling anxiety, forced to mask her misery with a fake smile whenever she was with her new boy toy Chenshu. It really is him. Chenshu, always the one to stir the pot. Nudged her. Guess the brat didn't run far, huh? He's definitely camping here waiting for you. After all, this is one of your absolute favorite cafes. Come on, let's go say hi. The two of them began striding towards my table. Chenshu slumped into the chair directly across from me, crossing his legs with a smug grin. Well, if it isn't the great designer Chu. Long time no see. Word on the street is you hit it big. This outfit is quite the upgrade. But let's be real. You bought all this with the breakup cash Wanwan gave you, didn't you? I didn't give Chenshu the satisfaction of a reaction. I meticulously saved my design file, then powered down my tablet and slowly lifted my gaze. My eyes bypassed Chenshu entirely, landing squarely on Su Wanwan, who stood awkwardly behind him. Miss Su, it's been a while. You certainly hid yourself well, Chu Yu. Changing your number, moving out, playing the vanishing act, so decided to ambush me here now. You knew I came here every Wednesday afternoon, didn't you? Quite the calculating move. I found her arrogance genuinely laughable. This cafe was a mere 500 meters from my studio. I worked here every single afternoon. I gestured to the blueprints on the table. You're mistaken. The world doesn't revolve around you. Give it a rest, Chu Yu. Chenshu interjected with a snide sneer. If you're truly over her, why are you still single? Don't tell me you're still waiting for Wanwan to have a change of heart. Newsflash, it's over. Wanwan is officially my girlfriend now. With that, Chenshu pulled Su Wanwan firmly by the shoulder, staring me down with a provocative glare. Su Wanwan didn't push him away. Instead, she leaned into his embrace, yet her eyes remained locked onto mine, searching desperately to capture even the faintest glimmer of agony or jealousy on my face. But she was met with total disappointment. My expression was one of absolute pure relief. I spoke calmly, then my sincere congratulations to you both. You truly deserve each other. This indifferent, effortless attitude completely pushed Su Wanwan over the edge. Chu Yu, stop acting so damn righteous. You took my money, blocked my number, and vanished without a single word of apology. Is this how you treat a sincere relationship? Why on earth should I apologize? You're the one who turned my life into a chaotic mess. Ever since you left, those nurses have been impossible to deal with. Now nobody can meet my standards. You intentionally withheld the care details from Wang Ma just to watch me suffer, didn't you? Chu Yu, you are truly selfish. Miss Su, first of all, I was paid for a service. Our accounts are settled. Secondly, that 500,000 was my hard-earned wages, not some charity. Finally, if you feel there were any services that fell short of your expectations, or if you require additional transitional consultation, I am available at an hourly rate. My consulting fee is 500 per hour. If you aren't willing to pay, then step aside. I'm leaving. I looked at the hysterical woman before me and felt a sudden surge of pity. This was the woman I loved for over a decade and protected for 2 grueling years. In her twisted logic, my departure is a cardinal sin, simply because I took her convenience with me. The moment I finished, the room fell dead silent. Even Chenshu was stunned, his mouth agape, unable to utter a single word. Was this really the same Chu Yu who endured every insult? He had become a cold-blooded assassin. Su Wanwan stared at the payment QR code, her face turning a livid bruised purple. She felt like a pathetic clown making a scene, publicly slapped across the face. That QR code was a giant mocking symbol, sneering at the love she once took for granted. You bastard. Su Wanwan swung her hand, intending to strike me just like she used to. But this time, I caught her wrist midair. Su Wanwan, don't forget, I said, locking eyes with her, my voice dropping an octave. I am no longer your boyfriend, nor am I your caretaker. I am a stranger, and a stranger has zero obligation to tolerate your temper. I coldly flung her hand away. She stumbled backward, nearly losing her footing, before Chenshu managed to steady her. I grabbed my tablet and moved past them. I exited the cafe without granting them a single backward glance. Su Wanwan stood there completely paralyzed, staring at my retreating silhouette as it vanished into the throng. Her hand was still trembling uncontrollably. On the street, while trekking back to the studio, My phone suddenly vibrated. I pulled it out to check, discovering a new friend request notification. The profile picture featured a girl in a diving suit, her smile as radiant as the midday sun. Night fell and the Jiangcheng winter felt bone-chillingly damp. Su Wanwan sat retreated within her car, blasting the heater to its maximum setting. Despite the heat, a dull ache throbbed deep in her knees, though her nerves had technically healed. Whenever the rainy season arrived, that agonizing crawling sensation like ants feasting on her would ruthlessly return to haunt her. She irritably snapped at the driver in the front seat. "Are we there yet?" "Almost, miss." "The traffic up ahead is a bit of a nightmare," the driver replied, walking on eggshells. Tonight marked the birthday of the notorious elite heir young Master Li. He had booked Jiangcheng's most extravagant lounge. Chenshu, being Li's ride or die, had been waiting there for hours. He had bombarded her with reminders, insisting she dress to the nines to bolster his status. Su Wanwan glanced down at her aching feet. To complement her shimmering silver fringed dress, she had opted for a pair of 10-centimeter red-bottom stilettos. The skin on her ankles had already been rubbed raw, hidden beneath band-aids, but that did nothing to alleviate the crushing pressure on her knees. Staring at her high heels, Su Wanwan unconsciously drifted into a thought. If Chuyu were here, he would have scowled and hidden those shoes away, forcing her into a pair of hideously comfortable flats, while nagging her relentlessly. Is beauty really more vital than your health? She used to view that as being a killjoy or controlling. Now the sharp sting in her joints made her realize that it might have actually been a necessity for survival. The car pulled up at the nightclub entrance. Su Wanwan took a sharp, steadying breath, plastered on her most flawless smile, and stepped out. Flashing cameras instantly swarmed her. In this high society Shark Tank, she was the undisputed queen of hype, the living medical miracle who had just recovered, and Chenshu's trophy new girlfriend. Inside the private lounge, deafening bass hammered against their chests, the air a thick cocktail of expensive champagne, cigar smoke, and heavy pheromones. Whoa, the legend has arrived. Chenshu was perched in the center of the room, one arm draped around a model's shoulders. Only when he spotted Su Wanwan entering did he sluggishly withdraw his hand. "Wanwan, come sit here." Su Wanwan endured the throbbing in her knees, limping over to take her seat. Chenshu slid a glass of whiskey over, packed with ice. "You're late, so that's a penalty drink. I can't have anything cold. My legs are aching." "Ha ha ha, you hear that?" "Our precious Miss Su is so delicate, her legs hurt." Fine, get her something hot." "Waiter, bring some hot water." Chenshu's tone was like soothing a throwing a tantrum child, laced with a performative, superficial affection, mostly just showing off how tolerant he was of her. Suddenly, the lounge door swung wide open, and the raucous crowd fell into an abrupt silence. I stepped inside the room, dressed in sleek black utility gear, a professional ID badge hanging from my chest. I wasn't here for the nightlife today. I was here on a high-stakes design commission. Following behind me were several staff members, carrying tape measures and laser rangefinders. Sorry to intrude, everyone. I'm the lead designer for the Phase 2 renovation project. I need to conduct a structural data audit on the load-bearing points of this lounge. It'll only take 5 minutes. Oh, well, if it isn't Chuyu, what did you downgrade to a lowly contractor? Interior design. Young Master Li, long time no see. Chenshu suddenly stood up, blocking Su Wanwan from my view, a provocative fake smirk plastered on his face. "Since you're already here, have a drink before you bolt. After all, we're old acquaintances." "What's the matter, since you can't be Wanwan's nanny anymore? Have you decided to be a nanny for these pillars instead?" I seized my measurements and lifted my eyes to meet Chenshu's gaze. My gaze held zero rage and zero humiliation. Only the sharp pity one saves for the brain dead. "My professional time is billed by the minute. If you're willing to sponsor this session, I could spare 5 minutes for your nonsense. However, my appearance fee might just bankrupt you." Chenshu was instantly triggered. "Giving you face, without that thick skin, I wouldn't know you. Aren't you just a loser who emptied Wanwan's bedpans? Stop cosplaying as an elite." At that moment, Su Wanwan suddenly bolted upright. What, feeling sorry for him now? "Su Wanwan, get it through your head who's your actual boyfriend here. Come on, eat up. Didn't you love it when that pathetic waste used to hand feed you? Well, I can play that game too." Desperate to assert his dominance, Chenshu snatched a peeled shrimp from the fruit platter and crudely shoved it toward Su Wanwan's face. The shrimp was dripping with heavy salad dressing. His fingers even jabbed roughly against her lips. The move was barbaric, radiating control and sheer humiliation. Su Wanwan jerked her head away, causing the shrimp to tumble onto her designer dress, leaving a greasy, nasty stain behind. My voice cut through the tension. "So this is your version of being able to do it too. Young Master Chen, some things simply can't be imitated." Her heel is rubbed raw. The bandage is already peeling off. Did you miss that? She's been sitting in this draft for 10 minutes, rubbing her knees. Did you miss that too? Her constitution is sensitive to the cold. Iced drinks give her cramps, yet you're still blind to it. Real care isn't just stuffing a shrimp down her throat like she's a dog. My pace was measured and steady, each sentence serving as a cold statement of fact, without a hint of lingering affection. Real care isn't just stuffing a shrimp down her throat like she's a dog. Chenshu's face turned a bruised liver purple hue. The wine bottle in his hand was stuck mid-air. Too awkward to pour, too late to hide. Su Wanwan stared at me completely dazed, feeling that long-lost sense of being truly seen. She mistakenly thought I was jealous and defending her, and a wave of wild euphoria surged in her heart. She instinctively reached out, trying to grab my sleeve. Chuyu. I shifted my weight, effortlessly dodging her touch. I glanced down at my watch, my tone instantly turning frostier than the winter air. But none of that is my concern anymore. I finished collecting the data. Young Master Lee, sorry for the intrusion. I'll have the construction blueprints sent to you tomorrow. With that, I pivoted to leave. Su Wanwan's desperate, indignant cry echoed behind me. Chuyu, stop right there. If you still understand me this well, then why did you leave? You clearly still care about me. Miss Su, you're mistaken. The person I care about isn't you. What I care about is, if my former employer is doing poorly, it makes my resignation look unprofessional. I pushed through the door and walked away. The freezing wind bit at my face, yet I felt an incredible sense of warmth. I finally had confirmation I truly don't love her anymore. The woman who once made me crawl in the dirt, Su Wanwan, is now nothing more than a spoiled, pitiful stranger. Back in the lounge, Chenshu lost his mind, smashing a wine bottle against the floor. Su Wanwan slumped onto the sofa paralyzed, staring at the permanent grease stain on her dress. Tears finally began to stream down her face. Not for the Chuyu who had walked out, but for the version of herself that was slowly dying. Her own arrogant pride. 2 weeks later, Koh Tao. This place is a literal paradise for divers. The sun glistens over the vast turquoise ocean, the air thick with the scent of salt spray and blooming frangipani. I sat on the deck of the dive boat, meticulously checking my BCD regulator and oxygen tanks one by one. Every single buckle, every individual hose checked 3 times over. This had become my ironclad habit over the last half month. Underwater, your life belongs only to you and your buddy. Even the tiniest oversight can be fatal. Just then, a vibrant, energetic voice called out, "Hey, Mr. Big Shot Designer, stop being so uptight." It's not being uptight, it's being precise. The voice belonged to the girl who added me on her phone last time, the elite diving instructor I met during my recent travels, and the close friend who dragged me into the diving scene. Thanks to her, I completely fell in love with the deep blue, because I feel that only in that split second of a dive, in that silent moment beneath the waves, does my life truly belong to me and me alone. Only then is my destiny finally gripped in my own hands. Shensing sat across from me on the deck, handing me a bottle of ice-cold electrolyte water. We're heading to Southwest Rock today. The currents are pretty gnarly over there, but there's a solid chance we'll spot whale sharks. Mentioning them made Shensing's eyes sparkle with excitement. That pure, unadulterated passion and raw anticipation left me feeling slightly dazed. It's been an eternity since I've seen eyes so untainted, void of any hidden schemes, free from cold calculated weights, containing nothing but a genuine curiosity for the world. Aboard the yacht at the Southwest Rock site, the captain barked the order to dive. I bit down hard on my regulator, pressing one hand firmly against my mask, while the other guarded the back of my head as I executed a back roll into the sea. With a massive splash, the world instantly switched channels. The chaotic chatter of people and the roar of the engines vanished entirely. All that remained was the rhythmic sound of my own heavy breathing. The deep blue abyss enveloped my entire body. I dialed in my neutral buoyancy and began my slow descent. 5 meters, 10 meters, 20 meters down, the sunlight began to bleed away, and the ocean transformed into a profound inky cobalt. Massive schools of fish swirled around me like a silver tornado. Shensing glided gracefully ahead of me, moving through the water with the effortless elegance of a dolphin. Occasionally glancing back to signal me with an "Are you okay?" gesture, I responded every time with a steady "okay" sign. But right at that moment, a violent, overpowering undercurrent struck without warning. I instantly lost all control of my body, the current dragging me headlong toward the jagged reef. My breathing rhythm shattered into panicked gasps, and my heart rate spiked into the red. Terror coiled around my ankles like strangling seaweed. I suddenly remembered what Shenqing had warned me about. Trying to act tough underwater is a one-way ticket to a coffin. Self-rescue is the cardinal rule of every diver. I instantly flashed the trouble signal to Shenqing, pointing frantically at my seizing cramped leg. Shenqing's reflexes were lightning fast. Without a shred of hesitation, she glided to my side. She didn't just drag me, she swam directly in front of me, gripping my BCD shoulder straps with both hands. She stared through my mask with a fierce, unwavering gaze, her eyes screaming, "Don't panic." I watched as she expertly manipulated my fins, massaging the muscle spasm away. She stabilized our forms against the rushing current, signaling me to anchor myself to her arm. We were mere inches apart. I could hear the rhythmic hiss of her regulator and see tiny bubbles clinging to her eyelashes. Deep in the 25-meter abyss, within this realm of absolute isolation, we were like two plankton clinging to each other for survival. No social status, no wealth or poverty, only one life entrusting itself entirely to another. A few grueling minutes later, the agonizing cramp finally subsided. Shensing pointed upward, signaling our ascent. Back on the boat, I gasped for air and ripped off my mask. That was terrifying. For a second there, I really thought I was a goner. Shensing laughed as she dried her hair. Relax. As long as I'm around, even the Grim Reaper has to wait in line. You know what this is? This is a life and death bond. Those words, a life and death bond, caused the thick frozen layers around my heart to suddenly spiderweb with cracks. That night at the beachside bonfire party, everyone huddled together drinking and grilling fish. Shensing plucked at a ukulele humming a light tune, the firelight casting a soft warm glow across her face. I held a beer watching her in quiet contemplation. Shensing leaned in. What's on your mind? You're totally zoned out. Suddenly curious, I asked, aren't you going to ask how I got this scar on my hand? Was it a bite? Judging by the marks, looks like a human. Yeah, my ex bit me when she was at her most desperate. I slaved away as her caretaker for 4 grueling years, only to be tossed out like a piece of garbage. I didn't sugarcoat the details. I just laid out the raw facts of a story about loyalty, betrayal, and a $500,000 price tag. After I finished, Shensing remained silent for a moment, then gestured toward a jagged long scar on her own leg. 2 years ago, while diving in the Philippines, I got tangled in a ghost net with only 50 bars of oxygen left. I accidentally slashed my thigh while cutting myself free. Blood clouded the water everywhere, and it lured the sharks right to me. I was utterly hopeless back then, thinking I was way too pretty to become fish food before ever falling in love. Chuyu scars aren't a mark of shame. They are medals of honor for surviving the battle. They prove that whatever failed to kill us only served to make us more powerful. Shensing laughed effortlessly, as if recounting someone else's history. She tilted her head up, her eyes shimmering as she locked onto mine. You didn't cast her aside because you were strong, because you still believed in vows and sacrifice. That wasn't a mistake. The mistake was made by the one who failed to cherish you. That wound is finally closed now. The scar might remain, but the pain is gone, right? Let's have a dance. The moonlight is too breathtaking tonight, and wasting it would be a damn tragedy. By the bonfire, 2 silhouettes swayed to the rhythm, as the waves serenaded the shore with a gentle melody. In that fleeting moment, I finally understood true authentic love isn't a form of charity or a parasitic dependency. It's 2 independent souls colliding in the deep sea, becoming each other's oxygen as they navigate the depths side by side. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away in Jiangcheng,